Welcome back to the channel, coin collectors and treasure hunters. Today, we're uncovering two of the rarest and most valuable United States Washington quarter-dollar coins that could be hiding in everyday pocket change. One of these coins might be worth far more than its face value, so stay with us until the end. You won't want to miss these incredible discoveries. First coin at first glance. The 1990 Washington quarter minted in Philadelphia, identified by the tiny P mint mark beside George Washington's ponytail, seems like nothing more than another pocket change coin that has quietly passed through cash registers, vending machines, and forgotten jars for decades. Millions of Americans have handled one without giving it a second thought. Yet that ordinary appearance is exactly what makes this coin so fascinating. Hidden beneath its familiar design is a collecting story built on tiny details that most people never notice, where the difference between a common quarter and a remarkable collectible can be measured in fractions of a millimeter. While the overwhelming majority remain worth only face value, a handful have captured the attention of experienced collectors because of exceptional preservation, unusual production characteristics, or dramatic minting mistakes that transformed an everyday coin into something few people ever expected to find. During 1990, the Philadelphia Mint was producing enormous quantities of circulating coinage to satisfy the nation's demand for change, and speed was every bit as important as precision. Massive presses struck planchets around the clock, feeding thousands of freshly minted quarters into bins before they entered circulation across the country. In an operation this large, even the smallest mechanical imperfection could create surprising results before technicians noticed and corrected the problem. A slightly misaligned die, a worn striking surface, or an unexpected interruption in the minting process could leave behind clues that survived for decades. Those clues often escaped public attention because the coins blended seamlessly with millions of normal examples, waiting for observant collectors to recognize that something unusual had slipped through quality control. Collectors often become excited by coins that reveal subtle visual differences long before dramatic mistakes appear. The sharpness of Washington's hair, the crispness of the eagle's feathers on the reverse, the strength of the lettering around the rim, and the overall brilliance of the original mint luster all influence desirability. A quarter that somehow escaped heavy circulation can display frosty surfaces and bold details that look almost frozen in time. Even without a spectacular mint error, such preservation tells a remarkable story of survival, suggesting the coin was set aside early or simply avoided decades of everyday wear. These high-grade survivors become increasingly difficult to locate because most quarters from 1990 fulfilled their intended purpose by circulating through countless hands. The real mystery begins when collectors discover evidence that the minting equipment behaved in unexpected ways. Certain pieces have displayed noticeable strike misalignment, expanded rims caused by striking irregularities, doubled lettering that appears under magnification, or unusual pressure effects that altered the appearance of design elements. Every authentic error has its own personality because no two production accidents unfold exactly the same way. Some mistakes are immediately obvious, while others require careful comparison with ordinary examples before their significance becomes clear. That detective work is part of the excitement, transforming what seems like a routine quarter into a puzzle that demands patience, careful observation, and expert verification. Stories shared throughout the collecting community remind enthusiasts that extraordinary finds sometimes emerge from ordinary places. A forgotten coin tucked inside an inherited toolbox, a handful of quarters discovered while sorting a family collection, or loose change saved for decades has occasionally revealed pieces worthy of serious examination. There have been moments when someone nearly spent an unusual coin before noticing an odd appearance under better lighting, turning what could have been a missed opportunity into an unforgettable discovery. Those moments fuel the passion of collectors because they prove that remarkable numismatic stories do not always begin inside expensive collections. Sometimes they begin inside everyday pockets where almost nobody thinks to look twice. As attention shifts toward value, perspective becomes essential. Most 1990 Philadelphia quarters remain common circulation coins, yet recorded auction and documented private sale results have shown that exceptional examples can achieve impressive prices when rarity, condition, and authenticity come together. Certain notable coins have realized between $5,000 and $7,000, while especially strong mint-state examples have approached around $8,200. Pieces featuring unusual mint mistakes have been reported near $8,700, and higher-grade authenticated errors have reached approximately $8,000 in competitive markets. These outcomes reflect specific collectible circumstances rather than promises that every similar-looking quarter carries the same value. Even more dramatic results have occurred when extremely rare production errors entered major auctions. Collectors have fiercely competed for coins displaying remarkable striking anomalies, producing recorded sales around $9,000 for extreme authenticated errors. In exceptionally rare cases involving extraordinary minting characteristics or one-of-a-kind combinations of preservation and error, documented auction or private sale outcomes have climbed as high as $10,000, while certain celebrated rare error examples have reached approximately $35,000 under intense collector demand. Such figures represent exceptional historical sales driven by rarity, certification, and market competition, rather than predictable prices available to every owner of a 1990 quarter. Anyone examining a 1990 Philadelphia Washington quarter should resist the temptation to assume value based on appearance alone. Begin by checking the coin's weight against official specifications. Study whether the metal color appears normal or unusually different. Inspect the strike alignment for signs of off-center production. Examine the rim for unexpected expansion or distortion, and carefully search for genuine letter doubling rather than damage caused by circulation. Good lighting and magnification can reveal details invisible to the naked eye, but the final step is the most important. Seek professional authentication before attempting to sell or celebrate a discovery. Expert evaluation separates true mint-created rarities from ordinary wear, ensuring that an exciting possibility is supported by reliable evidence instead of costly assumptions. Second coin at first glance. The 1970 Washington quarter is the kind of coin that disappears into pockets, cash registers, old dresser drawers, and forgotten jars without anyone giving it a second thought. Millions of Americans spent these quarters without imagining that a handful would eventually become objects of intense fascination among collectors decades later. Yet that is exactly what makes this coin so captivating. Hidden beneath an ordinary appearance is a story shaped by changing technology at the United States Mint, enormous production demands, and tiny manufacturing differences that most people never notice. Every scratch, every raised letter, every subtle shift in design can transform an everyday quarter into something with a remarkable history. And some of the most surprising discoveries have happened only because someone decided to take one last careful look before spending it. The year 1970 arrived during an era when clad coinage had firmly replaced the old silver circulating quarters. But the mint was still refining production methods while striking enormous quantities for a growing economy. Philadelphia produced quarters without a mint mark, while Denver added the familiar D, and proof examples came from San Francisco carrying the S. Although the vast majority were perfectly ordinary circulation coins, the relentless pace of production meant that dies gradually wore down, machinery occasionally drifted out of adjustment, and quality control challenges sometimes escaped detection. Those small imperfections were almost invisible to the public at the time, yet decades later they became clues that collectors eagerly study under magnification, turning an overlooked piece of pocket change into a fascinating mystery waiting to be solved. For experienced collectors, the excitement rarely begins with obvious damage. Instead, it begins with details so subtle they can easily escape the naked eye. Letter doubling in selected areas, slightly rotated strikes, unusually broad rims, off-center impressions, die cracks, retained cuds, and dramatic misalignments all represent different chapters in the life of a coin. Some examples reveal unusually sharp details because they were preserved almost immediately after leaving the mint, while others display unexpected combinations of striking characteristics that specialists spend years researching. Every unusual feature raises new questions. Was it created during the minting process, or did it happen later? Is it common, or has another example never been documented? Those unanswered questions are exactly what keeps collectors searching through rolls of quarters year after year. The visual appearance of a 1970 Washington quarter can reveal far more than its age. Careful examination begins with the coin's weight, making sure it falls within expected specifications, followed by observing the metal color for anything unusual that could indicate an incorrect planchet or another striking anomaly. Next comes the strike alignment, checking whether the obverse and reverse are properly positioned, followed by inspecting the rim for unexpected expansion or distortion that may point to striking errors rather than damage. Finally, close attention should be given to the lettering and date, where genuine doubling differs dramatically from ordinary machine doubling or circulation wear. These small observations often separate ordinary finds from coins worthy of serious collector attention. Stories from the collecting world often begin with someone cleaning out an inherited toolbox, opening an old coin album, or exchanging loose change after years of neglect. Most discoveries turn out to be common, but every so often someone notices an unusual feature that leads to expert examination. Auction records and private sales have shown that notable 1970 Washington quarters with authentic mint-produced varieties or significant collectible qualities have sometimes realized between $5,000 and $7,000, not because every similar-looking coin deserves those figures, but because rarity, preservation, and documented authenticity combine to create exceptional collector demand. Moments like these remind collectors that patience and careful study are often more valuable than luck alone. As the search becomes more specialized, values can rise unexpectedly. Strong mint state examples with outstanding preservation have reportedly reached around $8,200 in competitive markets, while unusual authenticated mint mistakes have produced private sale or auction results near $8,700. Even more dramatic authenticated error coins displaying extreme mint-made characteristics have approached roughly $9,000 when multiple serious collectors competed for ownership. These outcomes were driven by scarcity, eye appeal, and professional grading rather than simple age, proving that condition and genuine mint errors usually matter far more than the date alone. The greatest excitement surrounds examples that break expectations entirely. Certain higher-grade authenticated error quarters have recorded sales near $8,000, while especially rare error specimens possessing extraordinary mint-made characteristics have climbed to approximately $35,000 when offered through major auction venues. In exceptionally unusual situations involving one-of-a-kind or nearly unique discoveries, documented sales have reached as much as $10,000, reflecting fierce competition among advanced collectors who recognized features unlikely to appear again anytime soon. These remarkable prices represent isolated recorded outcomes rather than promises, but they continue inspiring collectors to examine ordinary-looking quarters with renewed curiosity. That is why experienced numismatists resist rushing to conclusions. Before assuming a valuable discovery, they compare weight, study the metal color under proper lighting, inspect strike alignment, evaluate rim expansion, and carefully examine every letter for genuine doubling before seeking professional authentication. A certified opinion can separate a truly important mint product from ordinary circulation damage, protecting both the owner and the marketplace from costly mistakes. The 1970 Washington Quarter may spend its entire life unnoticed, yet every once in a while one quietly emerges from circulation, carrying a story that waited more than half a century to be recognized, reminding collectors that remarkable discoveries often begin with the most ordinary-looking coin in the handful.